Hi, loves. Are you going through a healing process but are experiencing things that make you feel like you're not healing at all? Like sleeping too much, experiencing extra traumas, feeling some extremely uncomfortable emotions like anger and disgust. Maybe you're having flashbacks or even an existential crisis and you're wondering what's going on, and maybe you feel afraid that you're not healing at all. In this video, I want to talk about these common weird signs that you are actually healing, but that may not look like you are. Oftentimes, when we feel these things, it feels like things are getting worse and not better. But keep going, because these might actually be indicators that you're on the right track. So the first sign is that we might want to sleep a lot. We're going to get really tired. And this can feel disconcerting because we associate being well and being healed with, having vitality and having a lot of energy. So after we have removed ourselves from a threatening or dangerous situation, especially if it's been prolonged, our body is going to need to rest in order to repair itself from the chronic anxiety that we have endured. Adrenaline and cortisol can do a lot of damage to our organs and our tissues, and the best way the body knows to repair itself is when you are asleep. It's called the rest and digest mode. And when you're able to shut down and be in that sleep space, that's when your body can take all of its energy and repair the tissues that were damaged by those high stress situations. Also, your mind and your nervous system need that extra rest in order to recalibrate from those constant stressful situations. It's kind of like shutting your computer down and then booting it back up. It's like everything can be very dysfunctional inside of your system when you have all of these applications open, windows open, you're hyper vigilant, you're managing so much, and it drains your body. So after you have gotten into a safe place and out of the dangerous situation you were in, your system is going to want to shut down for a time. It might feel scary. You might feel like something's wrong with you, like you're getting sick. You might even come down with a little something if you're one of those people that is on the go all the time and refuses to rest. But just know that once you're in a safe space, that it is perfectly normal and healthy and highly encouraged to take time to sleep a lot. I mean, some people, myself included, have slept up to a few 12-hour days after a really traumatic or impactful event. Once I was out of the relationship that impacted me the most, I slept a lot and I needed it. Okay, the second weird sign that you're healing that does not feel like healing is you might feel a lot of anger and rage and disgust. Okay, these emotions are extremely unpleasant and uncomfortable. They do not feel good at all. And obviously, it's not going to feel like you're getting better when, you have those emotions pulsating through you. The thing is that when you are in a toxic scenario or in a survival situation, you'll probably repressed a lot of these feelings that were guideposts because you were trying to tend to your survival needs or appease a dangerous person. So it's a very healthy sign when these feelings finally do come to the surface. It actually means that you have the space and the safety to experience and feel your full gamut of emotions. Remember, even if you have these extremely toxic emotions coming forward, don't let that scare you. You probably really needed to feel the anger and the rage and the disgust that you do. I highly recommend finding a therapist if these emotions are freaking you out. There are people who can help you feel these and process these and understand that sometimes these emotions are our friends if we understand how to listen to them and work with them and not react to them or put action to them, like a lot of humans do. That tends to be why we're afraid of these emotions in the first place, is because we have seen angry and rageful individuals do a lot of harm. And sometimes we will avoid feeling those feelings ourselves because we are afraid of inflicting harm on another person or on ourselves. But these feelings can be felt within. And, at first it's not a lovely experience at all. But after a while, it gets to where you can feel a great amount of rage, or anger, or, unpleasant disgust at something. And instead of it overwhelming you or taking you off balance, it's more like, oh, okay, that's good to know. Then, that's not for me. Thank you very much. They're good feelings. So that said, healing doesn't necessarily indicate that you're feeling all positive emotions. Like, things will get better and things will come to more neutral and feel more calm and peaceful. But in the beginning, experiencing those suppressed feelings that you had to shove down for so long is a really good thing. The third sign that you're healing that doesn't feel like it is that you might experience flashbacks. You might be remembering smaller details or smaller abuses or hurts that happened in your time in this situation that you had forgotten about during a time that you're probably managing a lot of threat. So oftentimes when we're finally in a space of safety, we'll start to have these little flashbacks and memories come up of things that, didn't quite register at the time. And they can make us feel very uncomfortable. They can bring up a lot of the emotions we just spoke about. You can feel like, oh, there's like another little dagger here, because it's like, oh, I missed that experience, or I forgot about that, right? Or I didn't even see that at the moment. So why am I starting to get flooded with these memories now? And it's the same thing we've been talking about. Like, you're finally in a safe space and your brain has released a lot of its capacity of managing threat and managing dealing with this other person and tiptoeing around them. They're actually able to process this data that has been stored and, saved in the back burner for when you were able to. So that's going to start coming up, it's been stuck in your subconscious mind for later. And now that it's coming up to be processed, you're remembering things and you're responding to them in the moment when, you're like, wow, I didn't even remember or notice that happening in real time back then. But it's a good sign. It won't last forever, but it will help your healing process along, because it can be very validating to remember these things, and you can understand more about like what was actually going on, why you reacted the way that you did, or why you shut down the way that you did. Whenever these memories come forward, it feels terrible, which is why it doesn't feel like it's healing. But there's like a purging. It's like a detox of the mind. These things that were pushed down into the subconscious are coming up to be released and let go. It's a really good sign. So these kinds of memories can evoke more stress and anxiety in the moment. But if you allow yourself to sit with them and experience them as they come and acknowledge them, then it will expedite your healing process. Okay, the fourth sign that means you're healing, that definitely does not feel like it, is that you might feel lost and have an existential crisis. Now, this can be very scary and extremely disorienting. So you probably had to identify in a certain way or take on specific roles in order to survive the situation that you were in. And those identities and roles probably felt toxic or uncharacteristic or untrue to who you actually are. A lot of times in these situations, like if it's an abusive situation, you probably were criticized so much for who you are that you had to change yourself in many ways in order to appease this person and stay safe. Like that was a survival strategy that you had to employ. And so now that you are not there anymore under that threat and the real you is starting to surface, it can be very confusing because you're actually shedding the fake layer that you had to put on in order to survive, and now you're changing, and the brain doesn't like that, right? The brain does not feel okay with change, and it can bring on a sense of alarm. You might also feel a sense of emptiness. A lot of people, after they get out of these narcissistic abusive relationships, don't know who they are anymore because they've lost their selves so much. They had to quit doing the things they loved. They had to quit caring about the things that they cared most about. And so when they're on their own again, they don't really know how to orient because most of your energy was spent orienting to this person and making sure that they were like, approved of who you were and what you were doing. And, when that person that they approved of is so far removed from who you were and who you actually are, you can feel really empty and hollow inside and a little lost, like you don't know which way is north anymore. Disorientation and emptiness are completely normal, and they indicate a space that has been freed up in your life where you get to orient back to your true self and reset your inner compass. So just know, if you're feeling lost, a new version of yourself is coming into being, and with enough rest and support and love and exploration, you get to rediscover who you are again, and it can be a really exciting thing. So just because it feels like the world has dropped out from underneath you and you don't know how to orient anymore, that does not mean that you're not healing or that you're going back or that you're about to fall off the edge of the world. I know it feels like that sometimes. It is a step in the right direction. And as the days go by and the more you explore yourself again, the more you go back to the things that you really loved and enjoyed before you were in that relationship, try them on again. You might love those things or you might actually be over them, but this is a time to come back home to who you really are. I've also noticed that a lot of somatic practices help around this, like really feeling your feet and your hands and your breath, and like being really present, like presence. Techniques are really helpful because you've probably dissociated a lot in these traumatic experiences, and so this is your home base. So calling yourself back into your body, calling yourself back into your bones and your muscles and your skin and all of your organs, doing that's a great place to start. So if you do feel a little panicky because you're having one of these existential meltdowns, just call yourself back into your body. Your feet and your toes are a good place to start. It'll ground you. And just work with your physical grounding and then go from there. The fifth sign that you're healing that does not feel like healing at all, and this one was the hardest one, is that it feels like you lost your sense of innocence. Losing your innocence is an extremely painful thing, and for me, I've fought it with everything that I had. This naive part of your inner child feels like it's dying, and in a way it is. But this is a natural part of the maturation process, and it indicates growth and discernment and a more acute awareness. So being aware of new situations that are possibly harmful, being aware of threats or signposts that could threaten our innocence, and learning to heed them well will actually protect that innocent part of ourselves later on. So usually, especially with really empathic, open-hearted people, we have this feeling of wanting to love everybody, of having compassion for everybody, because we understand the wounds that affect humanity. And so we often believe in the ability for people to heal. We believe in the ability for people to grow. And we think to ourselves like, oh, like this person just doesn't understand, or they just need more of a chance, or, people really aren't that bad. People aren't that advantageous. People would never intentionally do certain things, right? Like it must be a mistake. And learning that some people do actually live their lives from an advantageous and manipulative way. Um, it can completely destroy our worldview and our sense of safety in the world at large, and especially with other humans. It can be a soul-crushing experience. And that's often why people like go back into abusive scenarios so much, because they're like, okay, well, if this happened and a person who loved me so much could, betray me this way or abuse me this way, then that means anybody could. And oftentimes we equate it with like, that means that the world is completely unsafe, because if the person that I trusted the most is going to carry out this behavior towards me, then how can I trust every single other person that is not that close to me? Every single person who doesn't claim that they love me that much, right? Like it's a really mind and soul shattering experience. And if you're listening and you know what I'm talking about, then you're probably nodding ahead right now. And I'm sorry that this is something that you're going through. I just want to say, like, you're probably gonna fight it. And you'll probably fight it hard, because for me that was like the last string. I just could not let go of this worldview of benevolence. However, the quicker we can understand that there are people out there who behave in really dark ways and who can deceive that well, the opening of the eyes is very painful. And it feels like, we have to shut down. The boundaries feel very uncomfortable and very harsh at first. But over time, we learn that by being aware, that by seeing things as they are without the, rose-colored glasses effect, we're actually able to protect that innocent part of ourselves. And looking back, we realize that, we just handed our innocence and our open heart to people who obviously didn't deserve it. And what we did, because of this, naivety or worldview that everyone was actually good inherently, is that we continue to give that innocent part of ourselves to that person over and over and over again, and engaged in self-betrayal. The quicker that we allow, the more discerning and eye-opened part of us, some would call it the jaded part of us, that's fine. The sooner we allow that forward and to like take a seat at the table, then the quicker we will be able to see people for who they actually are and not lie to ourselves. So it is a huge part of the healing process. It is so incredibly painful, and it's a paradigm shift for sure. And it's a breaking apart and a breaking down for sure. And it's, for me, that was the hardest one. And I'm also at this point really grateful for it, because now once I see signposts, I'm not sitting there thinking like, oh, okay, this person's just having a bad day. Like, they're not actually like that. It's like, nope, I see that, and I am not going to get entangled in anything like that that's going to, further harm myself. Like, it actually has a very beautiful outcome, but it feels like shit when you're going through it. And I'm sorry, and I love you. And I send you so much love and strength through that process, because it's real doozy. All right. Well, I hope this video was beneficial and helpful to you in some way. Hope it was comforting, even though, I know that there's a lot of discomfort that you're experiencing if you are having these signs show up, but just know, like, keep going, keep moving forward. None of this means that you're on the wrong path. It all actually indicates that you are on your way to being more whole than you ever were before, probably even before this experience. All right. Sending my love, and I'll see you in the next video.